Welcome to Flickering Myth Gaming's 7-Day Replay. I'm your host, Gerald James, and I'm joined, as always, by my own personal Alan Richter, Alan Christian.
Alan Richter?
I changed it up because your name's Alan.
Thank you.
Didn't mess it up at all. This week we've got 4 big stories and a couple of notes about some upcoming games maybe people care about. I don't know. It's a slow week. Let's just dive into it. So first up on the horizon. Horizon Forbidden West has just recently launched, and we got a little bit more information as to why this game went through the delays it did.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, of course, delays are big old sad times, and especially with the Panera Bread going on right now, delays are expected. But this one was a good one. They were like, you know what? We saw that to get things out the way we wanted to, we'd have to either delay it or implement crunch time. And they decided against the crunch.
Wonderful.
Good job to Guerrilla Games. We need more of this in the industry because I am so sick of hearing about crunch culture.
Yeah.
Especially when games have crunch and then come out and they're still garbage.
Yeah.
As we'll talk about later. So it's good to see a game come out. I haven't had a chance to play it yet because my money is limited and there's something else coming out soon. But it's, aggregate score of about 89 right now?
Yeah.
Super solid scores.
Pretty fantastic.
Anyway, we got all the good, heart-touching, good news out of the way. So we can talk about garbage.
Get back to the real state of the industry.
So we'll start it off with EA and DICE. Now, we haven't really touched on the debacle, which is Battlefield 2042's launch. And I'm glad we hadn't. I'm glad that the first time we get to talk about it is now. Now that there are over 200,000 signatures on a petition for refunds on this game. Like, how bad do you have to mess up? How bad? For 200,000 people, I'm willing to bet, I don't know if that many people even bought the game. It's probably just got signatures from, allies here. But 200,000 signatures requesting refunds on change.org. And I played a little bit of it at launch. I unfortunately got stupid and bought the big boy edition out of nostalgia for what Battlefield used to be. And I played a little bit of it. I had some fun with it. It's not the worst, but it's pretty freaking bad, y'all. And I love that they had an internal town hall trying to figure out, hey guys, where did we go wrong? How did we mess up? And there are multiple reasons, of course. The Pantera was listed. But another one that really just tickled the hell out of me was, when we release games, they're live games, right? We release them with a certain amount of bugs. We understand we're going to fix them over time. But then this Halo game came out. And it was practically bug-free. Everyone was just having fun with it. And they're like, hey, if they can make a game that's not broken, why can't you?
First of all, it wasn't bug-free.
No, it was pretty damn buggy at launch.
And it's missing features. Halo that is. It's fine. It's not a travesty like this thing is. But it was not a seamless, perfect launch as they're trying to make it out to be.
It's like saying, the reason that my girlfriend is really unhappy with me is because, she met this really cute guy the other day and started comparing me to him, and I just can't compare. I'm sorry. Maybe if she didn't realize other guys existed, we'd have a better relationship, but she knows what's out there. So I can't compete. I've just got to be...
While you're being abusive.
Yeah. It's like, I've just got to be cuckle-filled. Cuckle-filled 2042. That's God. Anyway, the game isn't the worst. I do feel like a year from now, this will be a fun, enjoyable game. Unfortunately...
The next one will be out.
No.
They're not as bad as...
No. But the big problem is I probably could have gotten the same content for $20 by that point.
Yeah. That's the problem with games now, is you can wait to get them on discount and then have the full game, as where people that pay big money are getting broken trash that they have to wait for it to improve. So backwards.
You get to pay $60 for early access, but $70 in this case.
Yeah.
$70 in this case.
I've just heard so many people be like, "Oh, you want these games to do better. You want to get more sequels. Da 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 da. You want to see more and more games like this. Buy them when they first come out at full price." Like, yeah, sure, you're not wrong, but also release a full game at full price then.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Just release a full game.
Yeah.
Thanks. Let's move on from EA being garbage, which is not a surprise to anyone.
No.
To Amazon being garbage.
Yeah.
Not a surprise to anyone. So, Lost Ark recently released. And if you're like me and you're watching Twitch and other streamers and such, you're probably of the opinion, wow, this game's picking up steam. This game looks really good. Like, a lot of people are having fun playing this game. Well, that's because I have a US-centric view of the world. I hate to admit it, but it's true. If you asked anyone on the other side of the pond how this is going, it's a travesty. Like, it's an absolute shit show. Just from what I was reading about it. If you want to get into a game, if you want to get onto a server at all, you gotta wake up before 11 a.m. and hop on the game. Anything after that, hours and hours and hours of queuing. Which, of course, I mean, that happens at the launch of a new expansion for games like Final Fantasy or WoW and stuff. But this game, just straight out the gate, shat the bed. Another thing that I loved seeing was, if you want to do any matchmaking, which is necessary for any type of in-game content, any type of playing that isn't solo grinding, you have to get on between the hours of 1 a.m. to that 11:30 a.m. point that we were talking about. So, I'm sorry, but just this idea that they are making people have to be these nocturnal neckbeards chugging NOS that we've come to expect of most hardcore gamers just to be able to play a dungeon. It's ridiculous, and I feel terrible for anyone running off the central EU servers over there. Now, of course, they've added I believe it's a Western EU server since then to try to alleviate some of this pain. But they're not incentivizing anyone to swap to this server. So, of course, everyone already has their characters and everything established on the central EU server. And they just have to deal with it or start from scratch. Yet again, this is ridiculous. And my favorite thing is, it's a server error, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming from an Amazon game,
mm-hmm.
a company that's very well known for their servers.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a company that's like has a huge part of their business in servers.
Like, these games existed to show off how good their servers are.
Yeah.
Guess not.
Well, AWS is maybe not so good in the old world.
AWS now means always weak shit. And lastly, because I'm having too much fun just trash talking everyone. I'm sorry, Nintendo, but you are making the dumbest decisions lately. Now, of course, I'm talking about their decision by this time next year, March of 2023. They are killing the online store for Wii U and Nintendo 3DS. Now, granted, the Wii U was a failed console, admittedly. But the problem here is how many retro games they had on these storefronts that are going to be lost forever. And I know, we talk about backwards compatibility on some of the other consoles and whatnot, and saying, oh, well, this can't run because of this processor and this processor. There's no reason that these, eShop versions of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, even 64 games can't continue to run on the Switch.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The worst part is, of course, they have no real replacement for it aside from their garbage Switch Online service, where they're just saying, hey, if you want to continue to play old school retro games, instead of owning them, how about you just pay us monthly? Oh, what's that? You like 64 games? Well, we're going to throw 3 of them behind another paywall, an extra $30.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem, is that it's underserved.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind this idea. I don't even mind this idea as an alternative to the eShop, to, like, the virtual console kind of stuff. It's a fine idea if you cared.
But they keep trickling this junk out.
Mm-hmm.
They are just drip feeding, like, a couple of games every once in a while. Like, a couple is being generous at points. Sometimes it's sort of like, hey, you get 1 game this month. Eat it and be happy.
Yeah, I mean, other than the 2 Earthbound mother titles coming out, the NES and Super Nintendo ones have just not been serviced in like 6 months.
Yeah, they stopped caring.
Yeah, and the last things they rolled out on the Super NES were garbage.
Yeah, and that's also another terrible point, is that they're using this as a way to build hype for releasing games that they already sold to you. Now, I don't mean just in their initial versions, but also as retro playable versions.
Never mind that you're completely losing out on things like DS games, which were well served by the Wii U. You could buy DS, old DS games on the Wii U. Game Boy Advance games. There's no place for that. Regular Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. There's no place for that on the Switch. So much of my library on the 3DS is old Game Boy games. And I'm just going to buy everything I can.
As much as I hate to say it, I'll put it this way. If you won't let me get something legally, we're going to get it illegally. Simple as that. The choice is yours if you want to make it available. If you want to make money off of it.
On this particular show, we do not condone
No.
pirating, but we will say that, like, you bring it on yourself when you do things like this. Like, that was always the idea behind, like, iTunes early on. Like, the way that Steve Jobs sold that to record labels was, piracy will stop if you give people an easy way to pay money for it.
Exactly.
And it largely did. I mean, it did stop, obviously, but digital, like, the only way to get music digitally was piracy back then, and then they gave a good alternative, and that took off. And
if you don't preserve your games, others will.
And have.
Yeah, same. I mean, that's all that can be said about that.
And others emulate your old systems much better than you do. So
just develop a division to that. Make your money. You're leaving it on the table. All right, let's talk about some upcoming games. It's, like I said, a pretty slow week. Of course, starting off on 2/2/22, there's only really 1 game of note. Like, there's a couple of indie RPGs, including Monarch, but from what I've seen, that's not worth mentioning, except for that time I just did just now. But we do have Sol Cresta, which is a shoot-'em-up or a shmup, coming from Platinum Games. I know, you're thinking, but they're the beat-'em-ups or the b'em-ups guys.
The blobs.
They're not shooter guys. Well, this is Divergence for them. And even though they recently said that they're looking more toward games as a service, it's good to see them branch out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited for it. I'm excited to see what comes of this one. Like I said, that's on 2/2/22. 22. There's a lot of 20.
22.
And it's on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
2/22/22 is on a Tuesday, and we don't have another edition of Skyrim. I don't get it.
Yeah, or Skyrim 2.
Return to Skyrim. After that, on the 23rd, we have Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. A game that I'm very excited for. Not in this form, because, I mean, you can only get it on Steam or on your phones, which is dumb. But Final Fantasy VI is one of my all-time favorite games. I'm glad to see this game come out in a way that's not those trash 3D sprites and things they had before. But I've said it before, I'll say it again, I will die on this hill. Square Enix, you giant flippin' idiots. Why aren't these on consoles? Like, I can play every other Final Fantasy on my PS4/5 right now, but I can't play these first 6 that you're releasing right now. Anyway, I'm glad it exists. I'll buy the mobile version to play through like an Nvidia Shield or something. Then on the 24th, we see Martha is Dead. Which, if you haven't paid attention to this, it looks like a really weird, kind of effed up horror title. And I like kind of effed up horror titles. This one has a little bit of controversy behind it now because Sony is having them censor some portions of the game for release on the PlayStation systems. Which, honestly, this game might have slipped under my radar if it wasn't for the fact that Sony is censoring it. Sucks for people who are planning on buying it on PlayStation, but I don't know, man. I'm going to check it out on Xbox. We're going to get another one. I decided I'm not going to buy it on my PlayStation because of this.
That's good, though.
It's so dumb.
Why are they being the late 80s, early 90s Nintendo?
I don't get it. If it wasn't for the fact that Sony does have the better exclusives, I would be a Microsoft fanboy at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest with you here. Sony, this is only going to carry you for so far. Then finally, February 25th, the day so many of us have waited for. We finally get to play an action RPG with open world elements that this is going to be known as one of the definitive masterworks of the genre. Of course, I'm talking about Majora's Mask coming to Switch.
It is a masterwork.
Of course, you have to pay $50 a year to access it. You don't actually own it because as soon as that's done, it goes away. And
I own this game 1,000 other ways, including the terrible, terrible 3DS remake.
Yeah.
That had me in the comments. I think sucks.
I mean, I'm glad it's coming out, right?
Yeah.
And it gives y'all something to do while the big boys, those of us with real gaming machines, not little Fire tablets with controllers. I'm sorry, I actually love the Switch. I'm just messing with y'all. But we get to play Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
This game sucks.
No! No, it doesn't. This is a game that we have been salivating over for years. And essentially, yeah, okay, let's be honest. It's Dark Souls meets probably a little bit of Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. With a story kind of touched by George R.R. Martin, which, you know, I'm glad he's writing something these days, right? This is probably my most anticipated game of the year. Definitely the most hyped game of the year.
Yeah.
And I took vacation time for this game, y'all. I'm being honest here. That's not a joke. It's not a work. It's a shoot. You know what? Talking about really overhyped games, it's giving me an idea for this week's recommendation. Of course, I'm talking about my most hyped game of 2020, and honestly, 5 years before it. Cyberpunk 2077. It's playable, y'all. Like that game that you paid $60 to be in a 15-month early access for. It's playable. It's not just playable, it's good. It's good. With the patch for 1.5 and this next-gen update that just shadow dropped this week, that's why it's not in the news. It's a recommendation. It's actually really good. Of course, there's still things missing from what they promised us, because they promised us the world. They really did. But if you're looking for a RPG shooter, then yeah, this is a really good one. I like this more than games like the last two Fallouts.
Yeah.
I mean,
I enjoyed this game. I was the guy that for a few years straight was just like, calm down, guys. You have no reason to believe this is going to be this good. And everybody called me a killjoy, and then it came out, and guess who got to enjoy it because he didn't hype it up to the moon and back.
Exactly. A good friend of the show, Jeff Galactus, actually went out proselytizing one Christmas on this game.
Yeah.
It being not so bad.
Not terrible.
If you don't know what we're talking about, maybe I'll link it in the comments. I don't know. Might get banned. But no, I've been playing this for the past couple of days on my PS5, and it looks good. Like, to me, this was always an easy sell because the cyberpunk aesthetic is one of my favorite aesthetics of all time. It takes your Outrun and your Vaporwaves and throws in an industrial background. And bam, there you go. Like,
I just love dystopias.
Exactly. It helps distract me from the one we're currently in. You can't watch Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049 and tell me, nah, those settings aren't cool.
Yeah.
It's half of those movies is the setting. It's definitely not Harrison Ford's acting because he's garbage. Absolute garbage.
Fuck you.
He's a gem. Everyone should love Harrison Ford. I'm sorry. But no, go back, play these games. If you already paid for them, then you have these versions available to you. If you haven't paid for them, they're on sale right now. And here's another reason why I'm hard recommending this week. There's a 5-hour free trial. You can literally go download the game and play it for 5 hours and then decide if you want to buy it.
Okay, we promise it's okay now.
Exactly. They don't expect you to take their word for it. They want you to try it out and determine for yourself if you should throw your shekels at them or your Euro dollars, or that's what they call it in the game, right? It's Euro dollars for some reason. Anyway, I've been having a lot of fun. They finally fixed it. Go play it. Drop in the comments. Tell me if you're enjoying it. And then, of course, if you put this aside for a little game from software, let us know. Talk to us. Let's have a discourse back and forth. You and me, buddy. Let's go. Thanks as always for joining us and hearing us rattle on about the goings-ons in the game world. Always a good time. Catch us back here next week. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, buy the merch. Bye.